Hey, friends, this is Carrie, and welcome back to I Like Reddit channel. Today we have a variety of stories out of some different subreddits. Let's begin. Our first story is posted by Certain Effort. Entitled Stepmom yells at me for not letting her kids inside my room. Important info. I'm a 15-year-old male. I have two sisters, 14, Laura, and 16, Liz, and a few entitled step-siblings. I have anorexia, severe anxiety, and epilepsy, which I have a seizure alert dog / service dog named Chase. Chase is really close to me, and I have had him for years. He is my best friend. I've been hospitalized for anorexia and epilepsy. If you don't eat your food, you have to be tubed. A tube goes through your nose and down to your stomach. We have the cast. EM, entitled Mom. ES, entitled Sister. EB, entitled Brother. The story. Our mom recently passed away a few months ago, and my dad for some reason married a douchebag of a person afterwards. My sisters and I hate her and her kids. We have a fairly big house in which EM and her devil children have moved in with us this week. So now me and my sister Liz have to share a room. We were okay with it since it was that or having to share a room with entitled sister or entitled brother. I usually sit in my room, either doing my homework, playing games, or watching TV. Yesterday morning, I was getting fed through my feeding tube, was drinking some tea, peacefully chilling out, and playing some Minecraft because it was the weekend. EM bursts into my room demanding that I let entitled sister and entitled brother play. Then when she sees my tube in my nose, she starts to scream like a dying banshee, with mental problems. It was so freaking loud. Then she started yelling at me that I should take it out because it would mess with my kids' brains. It's not like I'm a zombie in a horror movie. It's a tube in my nose. I will admit, I do wear a mask when I'm in public. Of course I say no, and then explain how this is how I eat. My dad came over to see what was up, and he sees EM looking at me, and he pulls EM out and explained that that was why I had the tube in, and I think she understood after that. Later that day, Liz was playing on her HTC Cosmos when someone comes knocking. I open the door and see Laura asking to play with Chase. I say sure, and she comes in. Note, I don't handle loud noises very well, so I'm fairly shaky after all the screaming. We're watching and laughing at Liz failing when we hear a knock at the door, and it's none other than entitled brother. He sees that Laura is petting Chase and Liz is playing on the HTC, and he goes bright red and looks like a bomb went off inside him. He then starts screaming at me for not letting him play or pet Chase. I just shut the door. Then he knocks on the door again, and when I open it, it's EM standing there telling me to let her son in. Then she sees this tube still in and proceeds to try and rip it out, which is extremely painful. I slid to the floor, coughing, because the tube wasn't closed, so some of the fluid spilled into my airway and my nose. My dad came over right as I recovered from coughing, and I realized that I had the pins and needles feeling spreading in my legs, a sign of a seizure. After that, I passed into a seizure for the next 4 to 5 minutes. When I woke up, I found Chase laying on me. EM and ES were watching me in horror, and Liz was trying to calm me down. My dad looked like he was ready to have a fight with EM for yelling at us again. He told EM and ES to stop bothering us. They stopped for the rest of the weekend, and I have still yet talked to either of them. Damn, I hate my new stepmom. You would think that the son's epilepsy and the feeding tube would have been something discussed between entitled mother and the OP's father at some point before they got married. I mean, that just seems really weird that the EM all of a sudden doesn't know any of this stuff. I just think it's weird. But anyway, she still shouldn't have pushed her kids in on the poster and his sisters. I mean, that's not cool. And ripping out his feeding tube? That's really not cool. Anyway, on to the next story. Our next post is by Paul M. Unser. EM demands a slushie. So while I was a senior in high school, I worked in a Kmart for the Christmas season. One night, about 10:30 p.m., right before closing, a mother and daughter walk in, and the daughter looks like she was in pain. The mother makes a beeline for me. EM. Excuse me, can my daughter get a slushie? A bit of context. The Kmart I worked at was one that had a pizza chain in it that was open served slushies. Me, I'm sorry, I don't work for the pizza chain, so I can't get you a slushie. EM, my daughter just had her wisdom teeth pulled and she needs a slushie to help with the pain. I knew that would make her daughter's situation a bit worse by causing dry sockets. Plus, only the pizza chain employees were allowed to turn on the slushie machines or any of the beverage machines in the section. Me, I can try, but I'm not authorized to turn on the machines. EM, just try. I proceed to grab a cup and find a way to turn on the machine. Actually, I was going through the motions. Me, I'm sorry, I can't find a way to turn on the machine. EM, well, can you at least get her a soda or a water for my daughter? She's in pain. Me, I already told you, only the pizza chain employees can turn on the machines in their area, and they're closed. You're welcome to buy a bottle of water before we close. EM, my daughter is in pain from her surgery. I want a slushie. If you can't get her one, I will tell your manager. My manager arrives after seeing on the cameras and wondering why I haven't finished my closing duties and yet asks me what's going on. EM, your employee won't get my daughter a slushie. Manager, well, he's not authorized to turn on the machine since only the pizza chain employees can do that, and they're closed at this time. The daughter and the EM walk out in a big huff. I felt sorry for the daughter at this time. Some people's parents, man. On to the next story. Our final story today is posted by They Call Me Jaws. Read your damn emails, Karen. I used to work in an office. The kind of office isn't particularly important to the story. Just picture a basic office. Every January, HR would send an email to all employees with the employee handbook. This included job description, office policies, etc. Every year, the PDF handbook had been established. It would be named with the year following it to be established was different from the original in all other years. Any changes would have updated next to the section in the table of contents so that you could see what had changed from the previous year and familiarize yourself with anything new. Now to the background. We will introduce Karen. Karen had been with the company a pretty long time, about 10 years or so. She was fine at her job, just fine. She would get things done, but not without making everyone else miserable in the process. She would ask questions that had already been answered and just basically waste everybody's time for fun. She was just plain nasty to people and tried as hard as she could to make everyone stay away from her. The worst thing about her was she always seemed to be looking for a fight or looking for a reason to complain. She had threatened lawsuits a few times over small things, but always would get over it and drop it because she knew no law had been broken and it would never go anywhere. She'd comment on how she should sue basically every business she ever went to because she could live off the settlement and then retire early. Over the smallest issues you can imagine. She did her job. We never had a valid reason to fire her, especially knowing how lawsuit happy she was. So she stayed. Karen's job description, as per the handbook, called for a bachelor's degree. Karen didn't have a bachelor's degree, but had been hired prior to the requirement, so she was grandfathered in. One day, a position above hers became open. A guy, who we'll call Terry, had recently completed his master's degree after taking night classes for a few years, and since an internal promotion is typically better than an outside hire, he was chosen for the promotion. Terry had been at the company for about 4.5 years and was well liked and great at his job. The new job required a master's degree in its job description, and him being a recent grad was a perfect fit, and everyone was happy for him. Everyone but Karen. Since she was constantly looking for something to sue about, she took this as a direct insult that she had not been considered for a promotion that she was not qualified for at all. She immediately cried discrimination and told our boss her lawyer would be in touch. We were all perplexed, since it was very clear that this position required a master's degree, and given that she doesn't even have a bachelor's degree, there is no way she could have been hired for the role. What we soon realized was Karen had saved the original company handbook, named Company Handbook, and had not bothered to open or save any of the newer editions that were sent to her in the following 8 years. She just assumed no changes had been made and that it was sent every year to ensure that all employees had it. If she had bothered to open the file, she would have seen the section that said Updated in the table of contents. Since Karen cried lawsuit a lot, no one expected much to come of this since this was a ridiculous claim. But sure enough, Karen gives her resignation letter via email, and it is scathing about how she can't bear to work in such a discriminatory environment that would only promote men. When any higher-ups tried to speak to her about this to clear up the confusion, she basically told them to F off.
Read the damn email. I don't owe anyone an explanation.
She basically goes full Karen. Not long after, a letter comes in from her lawyer asking for a settlement to avoid a discrimination case. What Karen hadn't realized was that her boss's sister-in-law owned a law firm. She didn't really take on clients herself anymore, mostly just managed the other lawyers of her firm. She was basically semi-retired. What this meant was she had plenty of time to review any letter from Karen's lawyer and advise us. Since Karen didn't bother to read any of the updated handbooks, she was unaware that this position had required a master's degree for many years now, I believe about 6 years. She supplied her lawyer with the original company handbook from 9 years ago, and he used it as a reference in the settlement demand. This was when we realized she hadn't read any new handbooks in years. Since Karen rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, the boss's sister-in-law decided to personally take on this case. Every letter Karen's lawyer sent, she sent back 3 times the length. Some of it wouldn't really even say anything, just wordiness, but it would certainly take Karen's lawyer a while to read it, and he did not come cheap. After several of these letters, they realize no settlement is going to happen, and they want to take it to court. It's a pretty cut and dry case. The boss's sister-in-law shows evidence that Karen had received all updates via email. After the change was made and the handbook sent out, HR sent an email to Karen specifically letting her know that she was grandfathered in and doesn't need to worry, to which Karen replied,
"Okay, thank you,"
confirming she received it. The best part was when boss's sister-in-law said that they couldn't break company rules to give Karen a job she was totally unqualified for while neglecting another employee who went above and beyond to get his master's degree to advance, as that would be unfair to all other employees. Karen now had a huge, I mean seriously huge, bill from her lawyer for all of these letters and filing the case. No job, no one she could list as a positive recommendation, and no degree. In the time that she had been at the company, it had become an industry standard to require a bachelor's degree, so she effectively shut herself out of her career. It would have also been hard to explain how you work somewhere for a decade and you don't even have a letter of recommendation from anyone there. If she had only read her damn emails. Too long didn't read. Karen ignores job description updates for years, attempts a lawsuit, bankrupts herself in lawyer's fees, and effectively makes herself obsolete in her career. I can't imagine being so sure of yourself to the point where you're willing to sue your company that you've worked for a decade, only to realize that this is all your fault and your problem because you didn't read the required material. I mean, wow, that is arrogance at a new level. But I guess not for a Karen. I guess it's just normal to be that stupid. Anyway. That's all the stories I have for today. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell notification to let you know when I've uploaded new content. Head over to Reddit and drop a upvote for the OPs. Links to the original Reddit posts are in the description box below. Thank you for watching and have a great day.